Hello, and welcome to reCapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at reCapping Podcast.
Also, rate, review, and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We want to hear your thoughts on the movies and shows we review.
Leave us a comment on Apple Podcasts or our YouTube channel, and we will read them during the show.
Or reach out to us on social media. We love talking all things entertainment and pop culture with you.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Hello, Ashley.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
Great. We're in Women's History Month.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being Black and a woman, you just got back-to-back months. You know what I mean? Like,
we got the whole year, let's be for real, but sure.
I mean, very true. Very true. I am super excited to recap this piece of history. I am talking about the 688. It is a 2-hour, 7-minute movie rated PG-13. It's war and drama. It was released December 6th, 2024. Here's a summary. The 688 is inspired by the first and only Women's Army Corps unit of color to serve overseas in WW2, World War II. Despite facing racism and sexism and grueling working conditions, they were committed to serving their country with honor and distinction. Given an extraordinary mission and united in their determination, these unsung heroes delivered hope and shattered barriers. Here's the cast. We have Kerry Washington as Major Charity Adams, Ebony Obsidian as Lena Derricott King, Myluna Jackson as Captain Campbell, Kylie Jefferson as Bernice Baker, Shanice Shanty as Johnny May. She would play Dorothy in the NBC live musical The Wiz. I was like, when she sang, I was like, she seems familiar. And then I'm like, oh, The Wiz. Sarah Jeffrey as Dolores Washington, Pepe Songyuga as Elaine White, Mariah Brown as Inez, and then we have stars, okay? Dennis Norris as General Holt, Sam Waterston as President Roosevelt, Susan Sarandon as Eleanor Roosevelt, and the Oprah Winfrey as Mary McLeod Bethune. It was directed by the Tyler Perry, and the writers, Tyler Perry and Kevin Hamill. Rotten Tomatoes gave this film 54% from the critics, 72% for the audience, and Google users 78%. Ashley, what is your grade for the 688?
Never thought I would give a Tyler Perry film an A, but here we are.
The day has come.
The day has come. This must be what he has spent all his time doing when he was phoning it in for everything else, because this did not have even remotely his fingerprints on it. And the film, the cast, the sets, everything felt like a production.
Yes.
You know, and deservedly so for such an important story that the majority of us did not know.
Listen.
So I am so glad that he and everyone else took the time and the care needed to not make this a Tyler Perry production in the way that we've become accustomed to. And this is not a shit on Tyler Perry rant. This is a truth that I have found few and far between films of his, especially lately, to live up to this caliber of not only entertainment, but storytelling.
Storytelling, and I take it a step further and say education, because as mentioned previously, we had no idea, unless we had a family member. It was not widely known that Black women served overseas during WW2. I never heard of it in my life. And to your point, this movie was done so well with so much care. I am just I'm proud of them. I thank you, Mr. Perry, for taking the time to make this movie. The cast was stellar. This was a great film. I learned so much, and I did some reading outside of the film, and it's on the nose, like like in terms of the facts that were put into this movie. And so I also gave this film an A. So let's go ahead and get into our spoiler alert. Again, this Tyler Perry film tells the true story of the 688th Central Postal Directory Battalion, an all Black, all women unit in World War II. They were tasked with sorting massive undelivered mail to help boost soldier morale.
17 million pieces of mail.
Actually, they were given 6 months to do a task that nobody was able to do. 17 million pieces of mail in 6 months.
As they say at some point in the movie, we didn't put you on this because we thought you could do it. We put you on this because we did not think you could do it. Whew.
Whew.
Does this speak to the plight of Black women everywhere?
Like, Ashley, that's actually one of my questions. Even in today's world, in corporate America, it's like we are given tasks that nobody wants to do or has been able to do with limited resources, unideal conditions, and expect to thrive despite.
Making lemonade out of lemons, baby.
Making $1 out of 85 cents.
Crazy. And the
fact that they, spoiler alert, they did it in 90 days. They were so efficient that they were moved to France to do it all over again. 90 days. Bunkers and bunkers of mail. Okay.
Most of us can't even read a book in 90 days. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm speaking about myself. I had to read a book recently and I had a month to do it. I was like, a month? I need more than a month. You know what else I got going on in my life? I need more than a month. What are we saying?
You're asking a person who reads how many books in a week?
Yeah, but I'm not even just talking about like, this. There's no cheat codes. There's no, why can't listen to it on audiobook? You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
yes.
I am saying the idea of time and the ways we utilize it now versus the level of productivity they were able to get done within 90 days is crazy.
It is. So let's go ahead and go back to December 1943. Okay. The opening of this film is interesting because it's giving wartime. What's the name of that movie with, he used to be my boo back in the day, Matt Damon, Saving Private Ryan? I was like, ooh, it's giving those vibes, right? It's not my favorite era either, if I'm totally honest. Like, the only reason why I watched this film was because I'm like, oh, they're talking about Black folks.
Yeah. War is my least favorite genre of film outside of horror, which we've talked about many times.
The war that I enjoy in my entertainment, Ashley, is usually done on horseback and swords and bow and arrows. Like,
if it's not samurais and
if it's not,
I don't want it.
Snow in the Battle of the Bastards, I don't want it. Okay.
Hilarious.
But we see this plane crash. And shout out to the young soldier who had the know-how to look for a letter. He went ahead and grabbed it and made it to base and was able to submit it for delivery. This story follows Lena, who is a vibrant young lady who's excited about the future. She's finishing up high school and she is BFF with Abram David, a young Jewish man. And yeah, the school doesn't like it. I think it's interesting because it's showing us Pennsylvania in 1942. I was like, were schools integrated then? Like, that's what I was like. Was this a thing? I don't recall.
Maybe in the North. Maybe. I don't know. Because I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there has to be some relevance to it because, to your point, this film seems pretty historically accurate, but couldn't say for sure. But then again, maybe there was still some level of segregation that they just didn't show.
Right, that's true. And that wasn't the point of the story. The point of the story was to show her friendship with Abram, and he's getting ready to go to war. His family's well to do, and he decides to take her out back, confess his love, and ask her to wait for him. Ashley, I'm not gonna lie, this whole interaction was funny to me because of her mama and her auntie. The way the mama was like, if you gonna court my daughter, you gonna do it properly. You gonna ask me and her father first, okay?
Bruh, what a bygone era that was.
Listen, listen. War was imminent. Hitler was ruling Germany, and everybody wanted to do their part. I think it's interesting too because they show Lena at school watching videos of the Women Corps. And I put in my notes, is this propaganda? Why don't we ever call our own stuff propaganda? What they were trying to do, they needed more people to support the war, including the women. And she was like, you know what? This is an option I didn't think I was going to take. But she had to take that option because she found out that her beloved Abram had passed away. Actually, I was gutted. I was like, this was quick. What are we doing?
It's hard to watch what could have been, what could have been.
Yes.
Especially in a case like this where they were at the beginning of their lives. And why, Abram? Why? Did you have to go to war? Did you have to go to war?
Speaking of a bygone era, there was a level of duty and civic interaction that I feel like a lot of recent generations just do not have. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, but also people have been through quite a bit. And
Listen, right on our
the
own shores.
information that is available now would not have been available to them previously. You know, there's a lot of factors. Let's not go down
there
that.
are many.
Let's
That
not
is
go down that
true.
road. But the biggest thing that I thought about today with this film is I don't even know had he survived if they could have ever really lived the life they wanted to live anyway.
True.
Because like the loving case wasn't until the 60s, right?
Correct. 1967.
So what were y'all going to be able to do? What kind of life would you have been able to have?
A
So it's
rough
like a
one.
double tragedy. Like even if he had
Star-crossed.
survived,
Star-crossed.
yeah, like wrong era, wrong era. So double tragedy for me a bit with that because I was like, man, even if you had survived, I just don't think this would have worked out for y'all. But it is difficult to watch of what could have been.
That's well said. And it's so funny because Lena made the decision to join the army because she wanted to live in the memory of her love and, fight the people who killed him, frankly. She want to put her hat in the ring. But again, her family said something that I thought was interesting. They were like, Black women is not going to do nothing but cook and clean for the white folks. And that is so true. I mean, I think about the movie Man of Honor with Cuba Gooding Jr. Do you remember that film? Phenomenal film, also based off a true story, but it's pretty much how a Black man integrated the Navy, especially with the divers. I say this to say it is so disheartening to literally be willing to put your life on the line for the country, even within the army and the military service. You are treated like a second class citizen, Ashley.
Racism is not going to stop at those uniforms.
She meets a gaggle of girls,
Gaggle of girlies.
a gaggle of girlies, who also decided to fight. We have Lena from Philly, we have Johnny May from the South, Bernice Baker from New York, Dolores Washington, and Elaine White. This film has a beautiful cast of up and coming actresses. Were there any performances that stood out to you? Did you have any favorites?
I mean, I really enjoyed the cast of ladies, like in totality. I felt like they balanced each other out. You know, you had Johnny May, who was the louder, a little bit more obnoxious. You had,
Medea.
yeah, you had Dolores, who was, you know, her and her cousin more of the heart and center of the group. You had Lena, who obviously was a little more reclusive because she was going through some stuff, you know, so it was like a balance amongst the ladies. But Johnny May reminded me of Octavia Spencer so hard
Yes,
that it was like,
yes.
am I watching her daughter? Like, it just, that's all I kept thinking about every time I saw her was just Octavia Spencer. So,
And I called her Medea because that's the one thing Ashley and I have done in our previous Tyler Perry recaps. I feel like he always has a Medea-esque character somewhere in there that's gonna say something crazy like, these are called titties. This is Mary and Martha. Okay.
I mean, now granted, it is a personality type that fully exists
It does.
in many spaces.
Yes,
So,
you're correct. Take that as you will, right?
oh, I love it. I mean, it's no shade whatsoever. I feel like I love people who are authentically themselves, period.
Same.
Full stop.
Same. All right. So they go through boot camp essentially. And in my mind, it's like, cue, we are men. Shout out to Mulan.
You know what
For
I was actually
revenge.
thinking of what was the movie back in the day with Danny DeVito, and it was
The Renaissance Man.
is that what it was? Is that the name of the film?
I think you and
Where
I
they
are
were
on the
in the
same
military?
page.
Yes. 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 This is what I kept thinking of when I was watching was
I
the
love that
Renaissance Man.
movie.
I do too. I do
It
too.
was such a good movie.
Yep.
Oh, and it kind of reminds me of Major Pain a little bit too, like with the whole group of unlikely soldiers coming together
Mm-hmm.
for a common cause.
I forgot Stacey Dash was in that. Wow. Okay.
Me
Back in the
too. I
day.
forgot.
That was back in the day. 94.
Whew. Enter Captain Charity Adams Ashley. We have seen Kerry Washington play dynamic women. I love to know what your thoughts are on her portrayal of Adams' leadership and determination.
That's an interesting question because I think I love Kerry Washington to death, but I think like the way that she had to enunciate just
Was
furthered like
distracting.
the jokes about the way she speaks in her roles. But she did a fantastic job. I mean, she was in control, in demand. She had to handle so many situations throughout this film with both authority and grace, and that can be a difficult balance. Um,
Yes.
and her composure, her leadership style, all of that was on full display. And, you know, this was a departure from, you know, really anything else I've seen her in. So I thought she did a great job. But for sure, like I was like, oh, the internet, the Instagram is gonna love some some of this in terms of like the
She
way
didn't
she
do
speaks.
her face teeth thing though. She didn't do that this time.
She didn't do it, but still, there was something with the mouth that's always there with Kerry Washington's roles. And again, I love Kerry Washington to death. I know she has to know this about herself as well. But yeah, it was funny, but I thought she did a fantastic job.
I think she did a great job in the role. I will say, yes, her accent was interesting, but I personally just chalked it up to the times. We see the goings on in Washington, specifically in the Oval Office, where we have Eleanor Roosevelt, played by Susan Sarandon, and Oprah playing great Black leader Mary McLeod Bethune, discussing low morale. That was all due to the mail not being delivered. The general was like, well, we got people on the front lines. What do we care about the mail? Well, there's this woman who had two sons at war and she hadn't heard a peep from them in 3 years. Ashley, I could not imagine. I could not imagine. I think it's interesting that people would overlook it, but this form of communication is essential.
Yeah, especially at a time where you didn't have a phone you could easily pick up and call your loved ones. I mean, morale in a moment in a time like that where you're fighting for your life every day may not make it I can only imagine, right? I can only imagine. Like, Dear John, I remember being a big deal getting letters,
Yes,
let alone
yes,
World War II, how big of a deal mail would have been. So, yeah, lifeline, right? Basically a lifeline.
absolutely. One thing about Charity Adams, she was looking out for her platoon and she was like, where are our orders? We have been going through boot camp. We are war ready. What is our assignment? Again, the general was confronted about the mail. The general said that no one's been able to do it. Miss Bethune reminded him there's an all black battalion ready for their assignment. This is, to me, a great example of why it's important to have people in the room to speak up for you, you know what I mean, to see about you, and the ladies get their orders. So it was so funny when my family and I watched this. We watched this on Christmas Day. My parents were in town along with my sister and my nephew. We all sat down and watched it. This movie was stressing me out, Ashley, because the level of racism that these women experience, he not only gave them an impossible task with an impossible timeline, the battalion was literally shipped over to Europe with no escort and expected to march as soon as they land. What?
And then put them in horrible housing
He
conditions.
said, I chose the place myself. It was a it was a shithole, Ashley.
Yeah. Run down what former school with no heat,
Berman.
rat infested. Yep.
I will say some of the lines that Captain Adams said that I thought had a lot of heart to. It's like, we come from women who have had to make shacks into homes. And then the heartfelt speech that she gave the platoon on the why. Like, this may seem like an impossible task, but our job is to improve the morale of our soldiers who are fighting this war. I thought those were some of the most beautiful monologues that Kerry Washington had in this film. Did you have any standouts?
Can't say I had a standout monologue, but for sure there was a moment with her that stands out most vividly to me. And it's going to be when she has to kind of accept praise from her own battalion.
Mm, okay, we'll get there. We'll get there. That's a great point. They did a fabulous job, Ashley, getting the place where they stayed up to stuff. They created a shift system to a point where they were working 24 hours. They had some issues in the beginning. Mel was being returned, but again, they were like, what we're gonna do is open up these bad boys and figure out where they're supposed to go.
But not only that, they were able to figure out whose skill sets align with certain needs
Yes.
based on things that
Yes.
they've done previously. Like, oh, you know how to sew, so you can help stitch back together some of these things that have been torn apart over time. Oh, you used to work in this capacity, so you should work here at this station for this. I mean, it was collaborative, but also so you talk about like operational efficiency, like on the ball.
Yes, exactly. Definitely on the ball. But one of the most beautiful moments, or I should say heartfelt moments, is when they were sorting the tags and Lena had her moment. She was like, those tags represents a life, okay, who is not here anymore. I thought it was so important, so crucial that she did that. Poor Lena was going through it, Ashley.
Hmm.
And baby, when they found Abram's letter, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Blood stain. And Ashley, it's the fact that it was the letter we saw at the top of the freaking film. I'm like, so when I rewatched, I was like, do I see Abram's face or not? Like, but thankfully you didn't see it.
Yeah.
I will say, Lena had some issues during, boot camp and even in her time in Germany. And she would have visions of Abram. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous. I was like, this ain't about to be a white savior moment, is it?
I mean, could he be a white savior given he's dead?
But you know what I mean. It's like she needed the white man in her visions to help her. Like,
Yeah, I don't think I took it like that because again, he's just someone she had such a close personal relationship with that, yeah, this is just her mourning and grieving. Like, I can only imagine she didn't even really take that much time to process what had
She did
happened to
not.
him. So,
Yes.
and then she just throws herself back into this, and it has to be a lot. Again, he was so young, had so
So
much
young.
life still ahead of him, and this is war.
Yes. He was so cute too. Shout out to that actor. That dimple was dangerous. Okay.
He's been in other things. He is
I
adorable.
know. I know. I have seen him too. So their time in Europe was not always easy. And one of the toughest times is when they lost soldiers to a bomb. Ashley, I was like, oh my gosh, did they go off route? Because you remember that she was like, stay en route. And when the young lady who was driving the truck was like, oh, I got to keep going. When the guy was like, you can't go this way. I'm like, did they go off route or something? But those bombs are everywhere in war. So,
Yeah, I didn't even catch that part, so maybe. But I also, until they rolled over it, I was like, oh, shoot.
yeah,
I still was hopeful that they were going to be able to jump out and make it. And then when
right.
because the girls in the back made it, I was like, oh, man, that's devastating. Because you don't
And
expect to lose anyone when you're sorting
driving
mail
that part.
as your post
Exactly.
or your assignment. Sorry, I've never served, whatever, your assignment.
Mm-hmm. Just again, the lack of respect, the fact that the army didn't even pay for their burials, the women had to band together.
Yo, this is tough. Like, to your point, this was tough in terms of the amount of discrimination and racism that they came up against at every turn. It made me wonder,
Every
like,
turn.
yo, Charity, whatever made you want to join these mofos? Because this is
Well,
not the life I would have chosen.
to what she said, she's like, I would love to have an leveled playing field just once.
But
Just
I but
once.
I think my question stands of like I would have been curious to hear her motivation for ever joining up. We get Lena's, we get Johnny Mays, we get some of the ladies, but like Charity's gone through it clearly to even reach the level she's reached, and then she continues to get disrespected every day.
Every day. And then it's the you got to entertain the black soldiers. Like, is this a brothel? Like, what?
Yeah, I feel like I
And then
need to learn more about Major Charity Adams.
I know. And then you send a chaplain acting like you out here sinning.
That
It's
man from the pulpit better be glad he was not struck down. He was wild.
whenever Carrie Washington gets that pissed off face though, I'd be cracking up because she is disgusted. Like she was looking at him like, how dare he? And truly, how dare he? Talking about us like he know us or something. All right, let's talk about the look, the feel, the production of the film. As I mentioned, Tyler Perry directed and wrote this movie. How does this one differ compared to his other projects for you?
Sorry, I couldn't even let you finish that. It seems like we had a budget. So
Yes.
there were changes to location and legitimate changes to location. There were not visible signs of green screen. There
The
was
wigs were
wardrobe,
not
there was
bad.
hair, thank you. We had money. That's what the difference was. It felt like we had some money.
I felt like we were in Europe. I was like, yo, I'm like, was this all done in Georgia?
I mean, it might have been because you
It
think
might have
about it,
been.
the land
Yeah.
on the set there very well could have been used, but time, money, care.
Because this was not done in a week. Okay.
Nope, nope,
Again, we still watch his projects, but
I don't.
well, let's keep it real. We did two projects last year.
And I said after the last one with Megan Good in them, I was done. And I
Megan
meant that.
Good one was wild.
Yeah. And I meant that
Wild.
I was going to be done. This snuck up on me. I was not expecting this. But outside of things like this, I'm done. I'm so serious. Until those of you who keep watching tell me things have improved, I can't keep doing it. That I should have known after the first scene on that Megan Good movie that this is not a road I wanted to
It
go
was
down.
not right. Corey was giving all the praises to that. But I'm like, you were saying that because you got paid, sir.
Exactly. And I love that for them. I love that they get
Yes.
paid so well.
Yes.
Great. Great.
And again, he's usually critiqued on how he likes to portray Black people. But do you think he gave their story justice?
Oh, absolutely. I That's never been a critique I've personally had though, and I've said that on the mic multiple times. There is
Yes.
definitely a diverse range of characters that he has portrayed and had portrayed in all of his movies. Yes, he has the Medeas, yes, sure, but he also has lawyers and
Yeah.
doctors and
Yeah.
very successful, all sorts of successful Black people as well. It definitely has not been monolithic, but this historical portrayal takes the cake.
So this movie joins the long list of hidden figures, literally and figuratively. Okay. And the Woman King. Is there any other story that you would like to see on the big screen?
Hmm. Well, I mean, those were stories that I didn't know that I would want to see. So it's hard to say because
Know what you
I
don't
could
know, right?
bring a historical figure out that I'm aware of, but that is only a small pool of potential stories that exist. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the great thing about the hidden figures and movies like this is to see how impactful we have always been in these spaces that we have, that people try to erase us from, right? Or try to minimize our impact. So, one thing I would love to see, just based on things that I've consumed, was that book that I told you guys about previously, is a hidden gem, The Three Mothers. I would love to
Yes.
see that come to screen because I
Right.
do feel like there's so much about those women's stories. It was the story of Malcolm X's mother, Martin Luther King's mother, and James Baldwin's mother. There's so much
Mm-hmm.
about their stories we just don't know. Now, whether that would be collectively or individually, I think that would be very powerful to see on screen. But there's, again, just so many people and so many things that I'm just unaware of historically.
Mm-hmm. I would like to see the story of Dr. Gladys West. She is a Black mathematician who helped develop GPS. I think that would be really cool to see on the big screen. I mean, also artists, like fine art artists, give the due recognition because they've made their mark. We get a chance to benefit from their excellence, but I want as a collective to know them, know their names.
Mm-hmm.
As we mentioned before, and Ashley, as you highlighted, the women of the six AAA were excellent and efficient in their work. And they finally had a visit from the general. And this general visit started off very dusty. All right. He wanted to go into private quarters, and she was like, nope, we are on shifts. He's like, don't y'all know I'm coming? Yeah, but again, my women are sleeping and showering, and you are not allowed to go in there. He goes in and sees the operation on the floor, and he gets upset, talking about, y'all reading white soldiers' mail? Do I need to bring in a white superior to show you how to do it? When sis was like, over my dead body. How did you feel, Ashley, the first time you saw her say that?
I was full of anxiety because I
You
did
ain't never
not
lied.
know which direction this was going to go. I didn't know if he was going to slap her in the face, to be honest
It
with
could
you,
have gone that way because,
especially the way he was stepping to her. I was like, is this going to turn violent? What's going to happen? Good for her for using her voice because she had been adamant with her soldiers that, yo, don't let them rile you up. And she had
yes.
reached her breaking point, right? And good for her that she was able to still stay in line. I felt like stay within herself, but also not let this man, this white man, come in here and disrespect her, disrespect her soldiers, and try to tell her, I'm getting you out of here. As soon as it's over, I'm getting you out of here. You don't know what you're doing. You're doing a terrible job, this, and that. And again, the racism, the constant racism.
The gaslighting. We're doing a terrible job when you know good and damn well that nobody has been able to do what we did ever. Like,
But
if
even
that were the case,
the critique of, yo, y'all put a hair salon in here. This is how y'all are using y'all time. You talking about we made a hair salon out of this rat infested building that you gave
Ashley,
us?
constant gaslighting. You literally knew you gave me a shithole, and you're upset that I made this a place to
Live.
want to be at, to live.
To live. If we're working 24 hours a day, we don't have time to go anywhere or do anything. So, yeah, it's called ingenuity.
Floored. So you ain't never lied, okay? When she told that man over my dead body, for me, I was like, this can't be real. I don't. This is Hollywood magic. Like I don't understand this. But sure enough, Ashley, she indeed told that man over my dead body. It is called the infamous encounter. And I'm looking at the Wounded Soldier Project. They have a lovely write up that talks about the battle cry, which is no mail, low morale. The soldiers were top of mind for these women in their post. Sure enough, it says Major Adams never broke protocol when the words "over my dead body, sir" sprang from her mouth like the searing rounds of a Browning pistol. In the explanation, they pretty much said he was, in fact, doing a tour berating her, and she said, "Not today, sir. Not today."
There you go.
And when I saw that this was, in fact, a real interaction, and again, she lived to tell the tale, I was like, good for her. You need to stand up for yourself. If you don't do it, who else is going to do it?
Absolutely.
They're going to keep playing in your face. That's what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
The outstanding fact that they were able to process 17 million pieces of mail in 90 days. And they did such a great job that they were like, you know what? Let's go ahead and take you to France to do the same damn thing. Spoke to their excellence. So at the end of the movie, they're all saluted, which is loving and heartwarming. But in real life, there was no fanfare at all. And it wasn't until 2021 that the 688 Congressional Gold Medal Act was passed. That was under President Biden.
Yeah, I feel like the salute in the movie was movie magic of giving them their flowers, right? Was like, this is for the ancestors who never got it type moment.
Yes, absolutely. This film has been nominated for several things. It was nominated for an Oscar for Best Song for The Journey. We talked about it in our last Headlines and Hot Topics episode. And it won multiple NAACP awards, including Kerry Washington's performance as Major Charity Adams. They also won for Outstanding Motion Pictures. I love that we gave them their flowers because I think they did a wonderful job in this movie, Ashley. Do you have any final thoughts for the 6888?
I think I've said my piece. Great job to everyone involved. Keep up this type of work, Tyler.
Amen. I did have this question, and I know why, but I guess we can talk about it really quick. Why do you think they left the history of this battalion out of the dialogue?
Racism.
I know the answer, but it's just like, they didn't have to do this, but they also didn't have to do a lot of things. So
yeah,
it's just heartbreaking.
So that's all I got. Sexism too, but racism.
Listen, because that's a real thing as well. All right, Ashley, if there's nothing else, time for Hidden Gems.
All right. I have two, both Peacock projects. I've been on Peacock, even though it's not one of my usual biggest streamers that I consume. I've been on a little bit of a Peacock binge. This first one is called Brave New World. It is a sci-fi series, one season. It's a Peacock original. It's actually back from 2020 based off of a book. And it is basically dealing with a future version of society that is considered a utopia where peace and stability are hinging on controlling monogamy, privacy, money, history, where basically they consider our lives now to be primitive. monogamy primitive, the family structure primitive, all these things. And so it's an interesting watch. I was definitely invested. The one caveat I will give this show that particularly bothered me as a Black woman is that there is a lead character played by Jessica Brown Findlay, and you also have another character played by Kylie Bunbury. And there is a bit of a rivalry between the two of them that is highlighted and particularly said as if Kylie, as the Black woman, falls to the background of Jessica. And oh, this is why people gravitate more towards me, want me more, all of these things. And it was a visceral response I had to that because I was like, this is very in line with like the societal thoughts about the differences and like our worth and attraction and all these
Like,
things.
if it's
And
a brave new world, shouldn't it be opposite?
not even just the opposite, but shouldn't there be equality? And
Yes.
y'all would have to watch the show, but it bothered me. I will say that. But there's a lot of other factors, a lot of other stuff going on. So it was minor compared to all the other like themes and things going on and drugs and all this stuff. Like it's a very sci-fi interesting series, but I just had to highlight that one thing that I did not like.
It only
Otherwise,
has one season.
yes, it's only one season.
Mm.
Otherwise, it was a ride. My second hidden gem, Everything I Know About Love. This is also based off of a book. This, again, came out of nowhere. I'd never even heard of this show. And this is, when we talk about love, this is not about romantic love. It is about the love of friends, of two best friends in particular. And I love stories that are not always about romantic love, that dive into different forms of love. And friendship is a
Mhm.
big one to me. And so this is about like how to navigate the love between two friends as life changes, as expectations change, as you move through different stages, right? And it focuses on like four friends sharing a flat together because it's set in the UK. But then there's two best friends that were really the most focused on in terms of their relationship and their dynamic. So it's also one season. Can't say I love the ending, but I was there for the ride. But I also don't always love open ended endings, and that's what it was a little bit. So I still enjoyed it, recommend it, feel like it's worth a watch. So that's Everything I Know About Love on Peacock. And those are my two hidden gems, Laura. What about you?
There's a character named Amara in there. I love that. All right. I have one this week. It is brand spanking new, and I'm almost done with it. It is called With Love, Meghan. This is Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, Netflix series where she's cooking. She's Martha Stewart it up, okay? She's cooking, she's decorating, she's planning or gardening. Like, it's super cute, it's super bougie. People are giving it a hard time. I'm like, take it for what it is. She's a wealthy woman in California with fabulous kitchen appliances,
Doing
best
wealthy
and
woman
gizmos,
things.
doing wealthy women days. Like, read the room. Like, this has nothing to do. People are like, oh, we want more of her, blah, 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 blah. It's fine. It's cute. There are some things I might implement. She has this steeper for teas that she puts like her ginger and lemon and honey in, put the hot water in, let it steep. And like the teapot strains it to where you don't get all the chunky stuff out. I'm like, I want that. Where can I find that? Like,
Well, go ahead and drop that list, sis, once you have it of
that
the
is what
best
I'm
appliance. I'm sure it lives somewhere, but go ahead and drop that list because I'm a tea enthusiast as well.
saying. Same. I'm like, I want that. I got those knives she got already, so I'm like, oh, I'm on trend. Shout out to
You
Sheer
got the rich people I was about to say the rich people
knives.
wives, the rich people knives.
I do. Apparently, her and Nora Smith rock them, and I'm like, oh, I got them because I thought they were beautiful and they were super sharp. They're like these Japanese knives. I have bougie kitchen taste. Okay, so
But do
again,
you use them? You use them. They're not just for display.
correct.
Okay. I was about to say that's when you extra bougie. You like, I got these knives. Aren't they beautiful? You're like, but do you cook with them or they just just sit in the background?
Yeah, my kitchen is full of all clad, and I'm building my Le Creuset sets as
What the hell
well.
is that?
Oh, girl. Those who know. French French cookware. Highly
Wow.
recommend. Very
Wow.
heavy, well made, pricey, but I love my Dutch oven and my other, you know.
Well, this is right up your fucking alley. Clearly, my Le Creuset. I'm like, girl, is that a pastry? What are you talking? What are you talking about? What are we saying?
Uh, so yeah, that is my hidden gems. I'm making my way through all of them. She has Roy Choi on here, who is one of my favorite cooks. He has a show on Netflix that he used to do with John Favreau, the director of like Marvel and superhero movies. It was so good. It's called The Chef Show because John had a movie called Chef back in 2014, and they made it into an actual like cooking show on Netflix. So that I recommend that too. That's a hidden gem too. The Chef Show, also found on Netflix. It's a good time. Highly recommend. So that's all I got.
All right. Well, if you want to get your Le Creuset on, y'all go ahead and drop a DM to Delora because I don't know nothing about that. But thank you guys for sticking with us for yet another episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've enjoyed this recap and your watch of the 6888. We will be back as always. Share this episode with everybody you know. In the meantime, we appreciate it. When we talk to you guys again, we'll be talking about some headlines and hot topics in these pop culture streets. But in the meantime, as always, be blessed.
Bye.